Imagine being the most powerful man on earth, ruler of 60 million people, commander of the greatest army the world had ever seen. And yet every single night, you sit alone in a tent by candlelight, writing reminders to yourself to be a better person, not for anyone else to read, not for history, just for you. That man was Marcus Aurelius, and what he wrote in the darkness of war would go on to guide emperors, presidents, and everyday people struggling to survive their own lives. Nearly 2,000 years later, born in Rome in the year 121, Marcus wasn't destined for greatness by blood alone. He was chosen. The Emperor Hadrian noticed something different in this quiet, serious child, a kind of stillness, a hunger for truth rather than glory. So Hadrian arranged for young Marcus to be adopted into the imperial family, setting him on a path that would eventually place the weight of an empire on his shoulders. But before the crown came the classroom. Marcus studied under some of the greatest minds of his time, and it was there he encountered a philosophy that would define the rest of his life: Stoicism. Now when people hear the word Stoic today, they think of someone cold, emotionless, maybe even robotic. But that's a misunderstanding. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering your reactions. It teaches that we cannot control what happens to us, only how we respond. Rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. Empires rise and empires fall. People we love get sick. Wars break out, plans collapse. Stoicism says, stop wasting your energy trying to control the uncontrollable, and instead, master the one thing you actually can control: your own mind. Marcus took this philosophy and lived it, not as an abstract theory, but as a daily practice under the most extreme pressure imaginable. In the year 161, he became emperor of Rome. And almost immediately, his reign was tested by catastrophe after catastrophe. A devastating plague swept across the empire, killing millions. Wars erupted on the northern frontier that would consume years of his life. Betrayal came from those closest to him, and through all of it, Marcus kept writing, not speeches for the Senate, not propaganda for the people, private notes to himself in the middle of military campaigns, trying to hold his own mind together. Those notes eventually became what we now call Meditations, one of the most profound books ever written, and remarkably, it was never meant to be published. Marcus never intended for a single other person to read it. That's part of what makes it so powerful. There's no performance in it, no emperor trying to look wise for history. Just a tired, grieving, overwhelmed man talking honestly to himself about how to keep going. One of the ideas he returns to again and again is this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about how radical that idea still is today. We live in a world obsessed with control. Control over our image, our schedule, our future, other people's opinions of us. And yet the one thing most of us barely try to control is our own inner reaction to life. Marcus understood that true freedom isn't the absence of hardship. It's the ability to remain steady in the middle of it. He also wrote something that feels almost uncomfortably relevant to modern life: waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, not talk about virtue, not debate it online. Just live it quietly, consistently, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when the empire is falling apart around you. And it really was falling apart around him. Picture this: the emperor of Rome, dressed not in golden robes but in simple military gear, sitting in a tent near the Danube River, plague spreading through his own camp, enemies at the border, his health failing. And he's writing to himself about patience, about accepting death, about not letting anger poison his judgment. This wasn't a man who had life figured out. This was a man fighting, every single day, to become who he believed a human being should be. He also faced heartbreak most of us can barely imagine. Marcus and his wife lost multiple children. In an era of staggering child mortality, grief was simply part of life, yet even here, Stoicism didn't tell him to feel nothing. It told him grief was natural, but that he must not be destroyed by it, that life continues, that duty continues. That meaning is found not in avoiding pain, but in how we carry it. Perhaps the most haunting part of his story is how it ends. After his death in the year 180, the empire passed to his son, Commodus, a ruler whose cruelty and vanity became the very opposite of everything Marcus stood for. It's almost poetic and tragic that the philosopher king who wrote so beautifully about virtue and self-mastery could not pass that wisdom on through blood. Wisdom, it seems, cannot be inherited. It can only be practiced. So what can we actually take from a Roman emperor who died almost 2,000 years ago? Maybe this: you don't need to be an emperor to live like Marcus Aurelius. You don't need armies or palaces or historical significance. All you need is the willingness, every single day, to ask yourself the same questions he asked in that tent by candlelight. Am I in control of my mind, or is my mind controlling me? Am I reacting, or am I choosing? Life will throw plagues, losses, betrayals, and uncertainty at every single one of us. The question Marcus Aurelius leaves behind, echoing across centuries, is simple. When it does, who will you choose to be? If this story moved you, make sure to like this video. Subscribe to Philosophy Unfolded for more journeys into the minds that shaped history, and let us know in the comments. Which lesson from Marcus Aurelius hit you the hardest?